Welcome to Architrave Gaming. I'm the Archmaster. I was scrolling Reddit the other day, and I stumbled upon a post that was the results of a survey of Redditors. What mechanics do they not like in D&D? And so they just gave a bunch of answers, and this person collated all the results to 50 points, 50 pain points, 50 things that people don't like about the mechanics of D&D. And as I was looking through them, I thought, oh wow, my game fixes that one, and that one, and that one, and that one, and we went all the way down, and it was about 48 of them that our game fixed, and so we just wanted to share that. These are the things that, when you play our game, no longer called Archers and Avatars, probably includes the word Ignoro, so I'm just going to call it Ignoro for now. When you play Ignoro, these are the things that you won't have to deal with anymore. So, here we go. D20 versus 3D6. People don't like the flat probability distribution of just a single D20. It's too swingy, they say. Well, our game uses a D20, sure, but there's also a rule, not available in the current beta, but in the next version of the beta, where you do something carefully. We might have a different word for it besides carefully, something like measured, but you attempt something carefully and you roll your 3d6. So the minimum you can get on the die is 3, but the maximum you can get is 18, so you cannot crit fail and you cannot crit succeed. You do it more measured, more carefully, more slowly, right? So you want, it's when you want something to be a little more reliable, and you're like, it's okay, I don't need to swing for the fences, I don't need to, roll that nat 20. It's okay if I just barely succeed, but I just want to make sure that I don't fail, right? So you actually get the choice. Anytime you're rolling that die, you can roll a d20 or your 3d6. It's up to you. You're like, all right, I want to do this carefully. And you pick up your 3d6 and roll then. Or you say, yeah, I want to swing for the fences. I might, hit them hard and get a nat 20, but I might also, trip and fall and get a nat 1. So it's up to you. And all the math perfectly works out. Advantage on 3d6 is you roll 5d6 and take the top 3. That is mathematically equivalent to advantage on d20. All right, next is social skill bias. One member represents the whole party. No real rules for social interaction. Our game, Ignoro, absolutely has rules for social interaction. We have just a small amount in the beta. In the next version, you have 2 things I'm looking forward to, including morale checks and subduing, where if you defeat an enemy, you can subdue them and force them to serve you. It's super cool because you can go and defeat a dragon and you subdue it because you beat it. And anyway, lots of cool stuff. But this is one of the problems that is solved by Ignoro's core engine. The fact that we have the effort system. The effort system solves this all by itself, even without additional rules. Because the effort system says one person can't just make unlimited charisma checks. They're going to run out of effort and they're going to become exhausted in that attribute and suffer a penalty. So, if you have someone like the Bard, he already uses his charisma effort, called presence. He already uses his charisma effort to cast all of his invocations and his bardic spells and whatnot. They're not spells, they're invocations. To, invoke their bardic abilities. And so they're like, guys, I can't be the face of the party and make all the charisma checks because I'm already running out of effort. And so other people have to do it. But also, codified in the rules itself, is that your race, your background, your mantle if you have it, etc., even your age, has an effect on the DC of the target. So you could have your bard with, a +7 to his persuasion check, talking to, the guard, and the guard doesn't care about him, so DC 25, right? Or you can have the soldier who has no bonus to his charisma, but he's a soldier and the guard respects a fellow soldier, so it's DC 10. So that little +7 bonus is nothing compared to -15 DC. So just having, well, here's the flat DC for everyone. We don't do that in our game. I think that's how it's done in D&D. Oh, here's the DC for the task. The DC is variable based on who is performing it. So yeah, that one's fixed. Next one. No exploration rules or mechanics. I'm not going to go through all the details of what our exploration rules are, but we have exploration rules, traveling hex and whatnot. Again, the effort system solves this problem. The effort system says that it actually, takes effort for you to move and travel, and you spend stamina and agility and might and whatnot. You're spending your physical effort in order to travel every 2 miles, every hex, etc. So it's not just like, oh, we travel and we get there. It's like, no, you're actually spending resources, and it's the fact that you're spending resources means that you have a reason to make a tactical choice, a strategic choice. Are we going quickly through these mountains here? Are we going through the swamps? It takes longer. We're going to spend more effort. We're going to, maybe we can go here and it takes less effort because we're going quicker, but it'll take more food because, it takes like a longer amount of time, but a shorter distance, etc. Fewer miles, fewer effort spent, but more days, more food spent, etc. All sorts of things. When you're traveling across country to get to a dungeon or some other location, some other adventure location, it's like, well, will we have enough effort to, actually delve into the dungeon once we get there? The fact that effort is there just solves a bunch of problems. All right. Next one is attribute bias. You cannot play what you want because you need particular stats for a particular class. That is something that Dungeon Coach tried to fix with DC20, and he has his, personal fix for it. But we chose to fix it in a slightly different way. Instead of in DC20 where you get to choose your highest attribute, you make an attribute highest, and then it is your prime attribute, and you use it for all the things that are important to your class. That doesn't necessarily make sense. And the big thing that we're going for is immersion, diegetic experience. We want it to make sense. The whole thing has to be immersive and to have a robust sense of verisimilitude. It must have a robust sense of logic. It must make sense. So, we don't say, oh, well, you're a strength sorcerer. Yeah, whatever that means, flavor it yourself. I think that puts too much burden on the player, and it doesn't serve immersion. So what we actually do is say, here's your mantle and your aspect, one aspect of a mantle, which is like your class and your subclass, right? So you have your mantle and your aspect. Different mantles have a different necessary primary attribute, but the different aspects also have a different necessary attribute. So if you want to play an intelligence fighter, you don't just choose the fighter class, choose whatever subclass you want, and then choose intelligence as your highest stat and go. No, you can actually choose the tactician fighter. It's called a Dreadblade. You can choose the tactician Dreadblade aspect mantle. The Dreadblade mantle, and the tactician is one aspect of that mantle. You can choose the tactician Dreadblade, and now the tactician uses intelligence for XYZ. He has features and whatnot that incorporate his intelligence into his combat ability. It's not just hand-waved, oh, well, you're an intelligence fighter. It's like, no, it's actually in there. If you have a 15 intelligence score, then you crit on a 19 or 20. It doubles your chance of crit. You have a thing called a miss bonus as a Dreadblade, where whenever you miss an enemy, you get +3 to your next attack against him, right? Because you may have missed him, but you opened him up. He had to go off guard in order to dodge that attack, and so he's made himself vulnerable for your follow-up attack, right? That's the whole miss bonus. Well, the tactician gets to add their intelligence modifier to their miss bonus, right? So it doesn't just say you use your intelligence for everything. It's like, no, it specifically makes sense within the context of intelligence, and intelligence does very specific things. It doesn't just let you add your intelligence to your attack roll and intelligence to your damage. It's like, but that doesn't make sense. Your strength should still be there, right? So yeah, we have that all over that. That's just one example, but there are a bunch of all of the different aspects of each mantle, and then all of the different attribute threshold bonuses all combine so that you can use any you can roll up your attributes randomly and get any random set of attributes, and you can play generally the thing you want. You want to be that melee fighter type? Cool. There's an aspect for intelligence, an aspect for con, an aspect for dexterity, etc. All right, moving on. But by the way, that's one of the things we're especially pleased with, that we still offer the same thing that that Dungeon Coach is going for. And that's one of the reasons why his game was so popular, why so many people backed the Kickstarter, is because he's like, customization. You are not constrained by your attributes. You can choose any attribute you want and still play the type of character you want. And we offer the same thing, but in my opinion, just a little more immersive, a little more real feeling, where it's like, oh, I feel like a tactician, not just I'm a fighter with a high intelligence and I feel like a fighter with a high strength. And we don't actually play any differently, right? I actually want the different attributes to make you play differently. Or if you choose a tactician, you have bonuses to your crit and your miss bonus, because that's how a tactician fights. Whereas if you have a high strength, you have a bonus, you can wield two-handed weapons or have a bonus to your damage, etc. I don't want you to just play the exact same way and let your high attribute be a flavor thing. I want it to actually matter and actually affect gameplay. That's kind of the whole theme of my game is I want things to matter. I don't want any hand waving. I don't want any, oh, well, you know, flavor it what you want. The flavor is in the mechanics. Everything is real. It makes sense. It's hard. It's concrete. It's there. You can grasp it. That's the kind of thing that I enjoy. All right, moving on. Skills tied to attributes. This is something that apparently people complain about in 5e, but it's not actually true because in D&D 5e, skills are not tied to attributes. You can mix and match them, and of course in our game you can also mix and match them, so... Oh well. Attributes, mainly charisma and constitution. This is not a very clear complaint, but it's probably saying that they are too powerful and too universally required. Caster needs constitution for their concentration checks, which, by the way, as a side note, do you concentrate with your abdomen or do you concentrate with your mind, with your brain? Concentrate with your brain. It should be an intelligence check to maintain concentration. Come on. Constitution? Give me a break. Anyway, charisma being too useful, constitution being too necessary. Again, our attributes are all actually very balanced against each other, at least as far as we know. Feel free to pick up the game in our Discord server and playtest it, link in below. But none of the attributes are dump stats, and none of them are required. We've been playtesting this for a couple of years, and I have not noticed people just picking one attribute as the best all the time. It just hasn't happened. All right, useless ability scores. Here's the next point, point 7. Again, none are useless. In my playtesting, most of the players have not actually read the rules, so they don't know how useful charisma and intelligence are, so they generally don't prioritize them like they ought to. But if you actually read the rules and use everything that's available to you, then none of the scores are useless, far from it. Levels and HP inflation. Our game does not have levels. You don't have this unimmersive thing that doesn't make any sense where, oh, you've leveled up. Okay, can you tell me in the world, in the fiction, what that means? Remember, the goal is to be immersed. My experience as a player should be as close as possible to my experience as a character. So if I, as the player, I level up, as a character, what does that mean? Do I level up? Or is that something we talk about in the world? Oh yeah, I just gained a level in my class. No, I don't think anyone actually says, oh yes, this is a diegetic, immersive thing. In the world, people have levels in classes. No, that's a gaming term. So we totally got rid of levels. We don't have that. Everything is an immersive, real, in-world thing. You know, you have your mantle, which, you know, you are mantling an immortal Archon, and he gives you powers based on if you serve him. It's like a whole patron thing. And so he says you may now have another layer of this mantle. You have more powers. You are becoming more like me, right? That is a specific in-world thing. You're like, yes, I have earned 4 layers of this mantle. I have served the Archon, right? That's actually an immersive in-game thing. You can talk to other NPCs. Yes, I have 4 layers in my mantle. But in D&D, you can't say, I'm a 4th level wizard. That just doesn't make any sense. I'm a 4th level bard. What does that mean? Anyway, and then the next one, still point 8, is HP inflation. We don't have HP inflation either. You get your 3 hit dice plus your constitution modifier. You just add it once. As a race. In youth, you know, you're 15 or whatnot, you have your 3 hit dice. For a medium creature, it's a d8 for humans. So you roll your 3d8, add your constitution modifier once, that's your HP. It's like 13 HP, that's it, that's all you have. And a good sword hit can do 10, or 13 if it's a really good hit. So you can die in 1 or 2 hits, which is what happens if you get hit with a sword. You die in 1 or 2 hits, right? So no HP inflation. The only, one of the main ways you get HP is by donning mantle. If you do don a mantle, from 1st to 10th layer, you get 3 more mantle hit dice. So you get 1 at 1st layer, 5th layer, and 10th layer. And so you can, you know, double your HP because you're getting this supernatural, you know, empowerment from this Archon that has given you his mantle if you have proven yourself. But even then, you have 26 HP. That's not insane. That's, you know, it's normal, it's low. Of course, there are a few other ways to get high HP. This is actually one of the cool things about this system. Instead of saying, oh yeah, everyone just levels up and gets more HP as a matter of course, it's like, no, you're a weak, vulnerable person. You know, a lion could come in and do 26 points of damage with a couple claw attacks. You could get mauled by a lion or a bear and die. It's like, my goodness, the world is dangerous. Exactly. How are you going to solve that? And so this is where you actually immersively, diegetically encourage things like service to patrons. where you say, man, if I could die that easily and I have this goal ahead of me, I have a life I want to live, I want to be, you know, a great king of this nation or whatnot, I have goals, I'm going to go talk to, you know, the sovereign of life, or this patron entity of undeath or whatever. I'm going to go talk to some entity and do whatever service I have to, maybe sell my soul or something, in order to get more life, in order to get more survival. And that can be more HP, it can be some kind of death ward, it can be some kind of I will come back as an undead, it can be a number of free resurrections based on how much you serve it, etc. You know, all differently flavored per entity, but it actually encourages you to do those things that your character in the world would want to do. I don't want to get too distracted. I'm thinking of a future video I'm gonna record and thinking about the points, and I don't need to say now. Anyway, on to point 9. Combat. Slow, boring, and too complicated, especially on higher levels, Lack of different objectives in battle. Of course, different objectives in battle is more of a GM thing, more of the scenario you're in. Which, by the way, isn't all the GM's responsibility, it's the player's responsibility to have cool objectives in combat, because the players should be creating their own objectives. Ooh, I want to go get that, you know, golden amulet before the person starts the ritual. The players should be deciding their objectives and going for them. That's not the GM's job. I have to make a video on that. Like 90% of the advice that is given to GMs should be given to players. Pacing, that's the player's job. Objectives in combat, player's job. Balance in combat, player's job. Everything is the player. What adventure do you want to go on? Player's job. Find your adventure. Go create it. Go pursue something in the world. This is all the player's job. And we get GMs so burned out because they're told that this is their job to come up with this. People treat GMs like a video game developer, where it's their job to come up with everything and just give it to the players to passively consume. Excuse me, tabletop games are not video games. You don't have the GM putting in all this work for the players to just passively consume. That's not how it ought to be. I need to make a video about that too. So yeah, anyway, combat slow, boring, too complicated, especially at high levels. You never really get a lot of HP, so combat is always fast. People do more damage as you increase in power and play longer. So creatures are going down in 2 hits, 3 hits. It's so much faster, and not 2 or 3 rounds, 2 or 3 hits. And so you can have a lot more creatures in the battle because they're all going down more quickly, and each of them can take you down in 1 or 2 hits. So it's like, oh my goodness, this is so tense. It's so much more interesting and fun to play with 10 goblins, each of which could kill you in 2 hits. And you're like, oh no, and that's so much more interesting than 4 party members, 4 hobgoblins, and y'all just kind of beat on each other for an hour until you're dead. Oh, that's so boring. It's so much more tense to be like, oh, I just dodged that attack. I was so close and killed it, got chopped off his head. Yes, 1 hit, he's dead. Ah, so much better. So no, in Ignoro, the combat is not slow, it's not boring, and it's not complicated. The action economy pulls so much of the weight for the actual gameplay in Bloods of Ignoro. Yeah, like you can read the rules for free in the Discord. The action economy pulls all that way. Decision paralysis in battle. This is point 10. I am probably going to have to end it here. It's almost 20 minutes, and I've gone through 1/5 of it. My goodness, I talk a lot. Point 10: decision paralysis in battle. That's because you have too many options, and because none of them present themselves as good. But if you have no meaningful differences in your mechanics, then you can have no meaningful decisions as to what you do. You have to have things like monster weaknesses, resistances, vulnerabilities, high ground, low ground, etc. You have to present a bunch of meaningful differences within the combat. Oh look, he has armor. He's weak to bludgeoning damage. Because, just as a basic system detail, bludgeoning weapons ignore more damage resistance than the other weapons do. So oh, he's got a hard shell. I'm going to use my mace and ignore 3 damage reduction. That right there is a tactical choice that presents itself to you and rewards system mastery. It rewards you paying attention to the game. Creativity in combat is good. It's very good. I want to promote that. But if you require creativity in combat as the baseline, then you eventually overwhelm the players, where they have to be creative all the time every round. It's okay. It's really good, actually, to have a set of right answers where, oh, this creature is vulnerable to bludgeoning, or rather he has armor, heavy armor, and your bludgeoning weapon will ignore armor, whereas the piercing weapon won't. That right there is a correct option. That's okay to have. Players enjoy that. It's a little dopamine. It's a little green check mark in their brain where they say, oh, he's wearing this armor. I have this weapon. Great, I'm going to go hit him with that one. Boom, that feels good. They didn't do anything creative. They didn't have to come up with something. It was enough for them to recognize the right choice and choose the right choice. That is part of satisfying gameplay. You don't need to go past that most of the time. So, yeah, our game actually presents the right way to do things. Oh, look, that's a water elemental. I bet he's vulnerable to fire, you know, that kind of thing. It's not super complicated, but you have to have that all the time. Most creatures in the 5e monster manual don't have meaningful weaknesses, resistances, vulnerabilities, etc. They're just there. They just sit there. It's just an AC and hit points, and it's just about quantity. How much damage can you do? Are you using a fireball or a dagger? And that's not a meaningful choice because bigger number is always better. With our game, we're actually building it from the ground up to have meaningful choices based on your abilities and their resistances and whatnot. And it's not complex because it's clear, consistent rules. Bludgeoning weapons will always beat heavy armor, etc. So it's just very, very simple. But it gives you that, it rewards you for paying attention. And so you don't have decision paralysis in battle. You can see the right answer and you go do it. And it's fun. Anyway, I'll have to get to the other 40 in upcoming videos. My goodness. Thank you for watching. Thank you for feeding the algorithm. We have a Discord community down below where you can get free access to our beta 0.1 for what we currently call Arches and Avatars. Name will be remade. Anyway, yes, that is free down there. If you want the version without art, the version with art, with some public domain, but mostly my wife's art, that she made specifically for my world and for our campaigns, that is until the end of December, $2 on DriveThruRPG. After that, the price will go to who knows what. Thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, and feeding the algorithm. Links in description, and God bless.